Welcome back everyone, hope you're having an awesome day, and with 3 kingdoms around the corner, I thought I'll do a Victors and Vanquished tier list so that we can, just kind of have an idea on what I think at least of the DLC and that. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy about it, but I didn't really mind most of it. I mean, I like Age of Empires, I'm just one of those people that's just like, I like this thing, so I will buy all the stuff for the thing, So we'll just go through, as you see I've got all my tiers there with all funny little names because that's who I am. And we'll just go through, pretty much after every mission, I wrote down my initial thoughts, and then I just organized them into S rank and that. So for S rank, we've got I replayed in my own time. This is a pretty easy tier to throw in there. If when I finished the mission, I then went back and played it when I was just at home alone, just doing my own thing, and I replayed it in my own time, we put it in S rank. If I think it's that good that I'm going to play it again, I think that deserves its own tier. Next one is going to be A rank. We'll take you out to dinner and pay because I'm a gentleman. I'll take them out to dinner and treat them onto a night out in the city and such. Put on your red shoes, or what is it? Paint the town red. That's it. That's the thing I'm trying to think of. So that's our A rank there. That's basically not exactly S rank, but I think about fondly, Next one is our B rank, which is I would give a normal Coke instead of a Coke Zero because I don't want them to worry about their health. I want them to worry about their health. You know what I mean? Basically, they're like, oh, I would like a Diet Coke, and you go, yeah, you can just have a normal one. I don't like you that much. This is pretty much just like your middle, pretty much. I know there's only 4 tiers, but this is like the middle ground one there. And last one is our C rank, which is delete the castle at 99% just to spite the villager. This is mainly saved for those missions that, you build a lumber camp and then they walk halfway across the map to cut a random tree instead of cutting the tree that you built the lumber camp next to. And it's like, you know what, you're going to build a castle, and if you get attacked, I'm going to delete the castle so you can't get protected. So they're the tiers. Let's get into it, shall we? All right, first mission we're going to do is Gerick, which is a mission where you play as the Goths or the Vandals, if you're worried about the in-game lore. As they're fleeing from the Mongol invasion, they flee down into Roman Gaul, down into Hispania, across the ocean into Africa, and it climaxes into taking and sacking the city of Rome by 455, if you want the achievement, of course. All in all, it's not too bad of a mission. The migration mechanic is pretty cool. Breaking down your town center breaks all your buildings down, which is a little annoying, and you don't get a refund for that. But the bonuses there is that you can basically just rush into Imperial Age and get all the upgrades you need. So the next area you plop down your base, you can just build up all your military buildings and send them out without having to worry about upgrading them, which is a nice little addition there. All in all, it's a bit long, it's a bit slow as well. It's not like a properly paced one, I think, because you have to drop your base down and then you have to build it up every time, which is a little bit tedious after a while. But all in all, it's not too bad of a mission. I am going to put it in the B rank though, purely for the fact that comparing it to all the other A ranks and S ranks in the tier list that are going to come out, I just didn't enjoy Gerick as much as I enjoyed those ones. As I said, it was just a little bit longer than it really needed to be. But all in all, it gives you everything you need to beat the mission in a pretty timely manner. Maybe I just need to get better. Next mission is going to be Vortigan, where we play as the Romano-British after the Empire has essentially abandoned us because they have to deal with problems back at home. Surrounded on all sides by the Picts, the Irish, and even the Franks, we need to defend our lands from these invaders by employing the help of the Saxon warriors. Good news about this, we get a big army, we're able to push everyone back, it's free, we don't have to worry about anything. Well, we do actually, because the bad news is the only difference between our enemies and our friends is our friends need a shorter knife. The Saxons will inevitably betray you and try and take over the island with their horde of Huskarls, Vikings, and I think they have just Saxon warriors. I actually don't even remember. All in all, I think this mission is chaotic, but in a bad way. I can usually deal with that kind of stuff, but you do have 3 town centers. Okay, that's not too bad. But you have 200 food, which is not a lot, and you don't start with any villages at all. So you're always on the back foot. I know that's the point of the mission. You're meant to be downtrodden, left for dead. You have nothing left. You need to build up from that. I just feel like the building up in that short time frame isn't enough. You need a little bit more time. Even like another couple minutes, I think it would be all right, honestly. The other annoying thing is you don't really get to utilize any of the Britain bonuses. You don't get yeomen because you can't build a castle. You can't get longbowmen. You can build crossbowmen and arbalists and that. The only problem I have with that is they have Huskarls, and they also have Vikings, which are pretty good against cavalry. So really it's about out-infantrying a Viking civ, which is not as easy as you might think. So in case it's not super obvious, I'm going to throw this mission here in the C rank. I will say this, if you need to get better at micro, I think maybe playing Vortigan on easy just to kind of utilize how to kind of build up an eco from nothing might be an idea to do, but I don't have the time for that, so we're just going to put it in the C rank and we'll call it a day. Next mission is going to be Charlemagne, where we play as the grandfather of France as we fight through the likes of the Avars, the Umayyads, the Lombards, and the Saxons to establish ourselves as the rightful Frankish king and the first Holy Roman Emperor. All in all, this mission is very simple and essentially plays like a random map as the Franks. You just start in feudal age. The monks that are scattered around the map that don't get attacked by anyone, very handy. Just get line of sight, bring the relic to your monastery. A, you get free gold income, and B, you get a free monk, which isn't too bad, you know. Essentially, the mission just plays out as just, as I said, a random map. You play as Franks, you get to Imperial Age, you steamroll the map with Frankish Paladins. Game, set, match, done. The Imperial score, it's a little bit limiting, but I feel like it's very lenient with its points system. If you defeat an enemy, like for example the Saxons, very easy to knock out Castle Age, should get you enough points to get you into the Imperial Age, and then you can beat everything else out with your Frankish Paladin spam. All in all, very simple mission, but I feel like it's not a very engaging mission. As I said, it's a simple mission. It's just, you know, you play the map and it's done. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the B rank, just because I probably wouldn't take it out to dinner. I would probably just split the bill though with it, you know? Next mission is going to be Ragnar, where we basically play through the entire Vikings history, where we unite all of Scandinavia, invade the likes of Britain, France, and Russia, and then establish ourselves as Odin's chosen by defeating the Yoms Vikings in the middle of the map. All in all, this is the 4X experience of the game. If you want to play a 4X version of Age of Empires 2 with like Age of Empires gameplay, this is the mission for you. I will say it is a bit longer than I anticipated. I did get all the saga objectives, so maybe that kind of inflated my time there. I reckon if you just went to 30 and beat the mission, it wouldn't nearly be as big of a problem. But I did find it to be a bit of a long slog, especially right at the end, when I was missing one thing, and it was very annoying. So for that reason, I'm going to put this into the B rank. Compared to some of the other scenarios, especially one of the Viking ones, that I'm going to put in A rank, I just didn't find it as enjoyable as that one. It's probably just a bit too long for me to kind of really enjoy it. But as I said, if you're not getting the saga objectives, it might even be a B+ or even an A-, you know? Next mission is going to be Ironside, where we get to play as Bjorn Ironside as we raid and pillage the Mediterranean coast and the north of Africa. It's not too bad of a mission. You do get villages in this, which is actually a nice thing there. You get a town center and you can build as many villages as you like to just kind of build up and keep your eco up and running, which is nice. Plenty of fish as well if you want to do fishing ships as well. Not a bad idea. The other cool thing is the enemy variety. You do fight like Franks, which is like very cavalry focused, Byzantines, which is more defensive and infantry focused. They do build cataphracts in that as well, and the Berbers and the Saracens, which is going to be your like your cavalry, your camels, cavalry archers, all that kind of stuff. So you get a big variety of units that you get to fight here. You get to pick 3 of those and just knock them out, get the achievement by finding all the Vikings, nice and easy. The big problem I have with this mission is the dummy AI. No one moves in this unless you attack them. They will just sit there and wait for you to come to their doorstep and start beating down the door, and then they'll be like, oh, that's not ideal, and they'll come and attack you. So for that reason, I did really enjoy this mission. I didn't quite replay it, but it was up there. And just because you get the villages, I'm going to put Ironside in the A rank. It's just a nice contained Viking scenario. If the AI were more aggressive, it would definitely be an S rank for me. Next mission is going to be Finehair, where we basically play as Harold Tanglehair on his quest to become King of the North and claim the hand of his fiance, lover, wife, whatever you want to call it. We're doing it for a woman, as we all do, you know. We have to defeat the Southern Jarls, the Western Sea Kings, and Hordaland to establish our dominance in the region, with a little bit of side raiding if we need to. All in all, at least when I played the mission and did my notes, I did not like this mission at all. I think really it was probably Viking burnout. I just done Ragnar, I just done Ironside. I think I was just kind of over it for that moment. If I'd played this after maybe a couple more missions, it wouldn't be so bad. It felt very slow though. You don't really get a lot of villages in this. You get it through the unique techs, which you probably want to research anyway, but it takes so long to get those techs that it doesn't feel as impactful as it should be. Navy's very weak. Your longbows are essentially neutered. They're pretty much useless really. They don't really do anything for you. I think honestly, it's kind of like Ragnar. It's basically Ragnar, but in a smaller map, if that makes any sense. It just seems longer than it really needs to be, and the population is a little bit limiting, I will admit, just so that, you know, you can't get a big navy out and a big land army out. It's basically one or the other, which is a bit annoying. So for that, I'm going to put it in C rank. As I said, I just didn't really enjoy this mission at all. It just, nothing about it I really liked. I just kind of did it, got the achievement, and then we called it a day. Next mission is going to be Robert, where we get to play as the Franks yet again. After our father was brutally murdered by Viking insurgents, the King of France decides, you know what, we're going to give you some land to help build up your village, instead of driving these Vikings into the sea like they should have been. So we're going to stage our own little coup with or without the help of the neighboring duchies, depending on how you want to play it. All in all, I really like this mission. You utilize the Franks effectively. Everything around you just helps you build up your Frankish army, get your paladins out, start spamming all that kind of stuff. It's all nice and dandy. The diplomacy aspect is really cool. The fact that you just do a little side objective and you'll build up, I suppose, friendship with the other neighboring duchies, you know, getting, I think it's relics for Aquitaine, tributing Normandy, or one of the units there, you tribute them and they'll give you, they'll be friends with you and all that. And then eventually, finally, all culminates into a big showdown, one versus the other, one alliance versus the other, or probably just everyone against the king, or everyone against you even. The build and destroy is also really fun as well, as I said, utilizing the Franks effectively. Very fun. I really enjoyed this mission. It was really hard for me to kind of place this in A or S. I decided I'm going to put it in S. I did actually replay it, so that's what actually kind of pushed it in there. That's what made me think of the name of the S rank there, was because I went, you know what, I played it again, I'm going to call it an S rank and we'll call it a day. Next mission, we don our capes and our fancy helmets in Otto, the newly crowned king of Germany. Surrounded by his loyal vassals, we will push these barbarian invaders from our lands and establish a new era of peace and prosperity. However, enemies lurk in the shadows. We must maintain a good relationship with all of our vassals, lest they fall into rebellion. This is a really, really fun mission. Kind of the same reason I like Robert so much, is the diplomacy in it is not just you are allies and that's it. They will eventually lose their, I suppose, friendship with you, and then you have to tribute them and do a various of other things, you know, defeating enemies and destroying buildings and stuff to keep them in line, essentially. The good thing about this is with the Teuton bonuses, you have really good farms. Your farms are 40% cheaper, so you're able to build them up, get that eco really pushing really fast, get that second town center from Italy and push that really fast as well, and get a good eco going, which means that you will never fall into a problem there. The enemies are actually very aggressive. The Vikings will attack you with siege, lots of infantry, lots of units there. The Saxons will come out with all of their units as well, and I think is it the Avars? Whatever the cavalry horsemen units are from the steppe, they'll also come out and be very annoying to fight as well. All in all, I'm going to put this one with the constant action and everything that kind of happens, even with the Frankish king eventually turning on you as well, and then having to put him in his place. I'm going to put Otto up in the S rank as well. I replayed this. This is how good this was. I replayed this twice, okay? I played it once, and then like a couple of days later, I went, you know what? I really had fun with that. I'm going to play Otto again. Utilizing the Teutons as well, like the Teutonic Knights and that, instead of just like spamming out cavalry, is very handy as well to have. So for that, Otto is going in the S rank. Next mission is going to be Seljic, where we play as the Turks. From humble beginnings, we must build up our generations and go through the mission, essentially, doing all our little side objectives to establish ourselves as a major power along the steppe, and eventually a mighty empire and caliphate. I really did like this mission. The generation timer is forgiving. I think it's like 40 minutes per hero, and as you do different objectives, you're going to get bonuses that get passed down through the generations, eventually making it so that once you get to the last couple of heroes, you're going to be very powerful, very strong. The objectives are nice, as I've said before. They're very like self-contained. They're not like go from one side of the map to the other to do this. They're like, all right, first one you're going to do focus in the middle of the map, second one we're going to focus on the left, and the third we'll focus on the right, and it just keeps it all nice and contained, nice and simple, and together, you know, which is really cool. It is a bit slow at some times, especially when you're kind of waiting for the hero to kind of die off, for the next generational hero to come in. So for that, I'm going to throw it in the A rank. It wasn't quite on par with like your Robert and Otto, but I would say it was pretty close to like how I felt about Ironside. So I'm going to put Seljic in the A rank. Next mission is going to be our last Viking scenario, being Carlskjold. We start off from humble beginnings in the Faroes as we expand out and colonize Iceland, Greenland, Vinland, and even Newfoundland to establish a couple of new colonies and help expand our empire and our influence. The main problem I have with this mission is it's a lot longer than it really needs to be. You start off in one corner of the map, you pass Iceland right at the start, but you can't land there yet, and then you have to go all the way around to go to all the other places to build up your army and then come back to Iceland. It's very annoying. I will say, getting ship right and then being able to pass through the Sea of Worms, very handy, very good there. I don't actually mind that. But I think that all the backtracking, the limited population space, the small, like, villager count that you get, all in all, it's just not that enjoyable of a mission. Again, it could just be Viking burnout, but I did do a couple of missions after, before I did Karlsefni, and I still felt the same way I felt about Friedhair. So we're going to throw Karlsefni into the sea rank. I just feel like it doesn't do enough for it to be another scenario. It just feels like, as I said with Friedhair, it's like Ragnar, but in a smaller area. It's just a lot longer than it needs to be, and I really think that they should have just made it, maybe the map just a little bit smaller. It might have been a little bit more better. Next mission is Cominos. We're going to play as the new emperor of the last bastion of the Roman Empire in Constantinople, as we defend it from the likes of Robert Guiscard and the Normans and the Anatolian Turks. I really do like this mission. The tax mechanic is really cool. After every 4 seasons, you will get income of tax from all the towns that you own. So it does incentivize a little bit of early aggression to go out, get as many towns as possible under your control so that you can get more tax revenue, which means you can get more units, which means you can get a bigger army, so on and so forth, and all the good things and such. The other thing as well is legitimacy. As you kind of do side objectives, defeat units, do all that kind of stuff, you're going to be increasing your legitimacy and basically keeping your grip on your rule. If you lose a lot of that though, you will have to fight enemies like the usurpers, which is just a big Roman army that comes in and essentially knocks you out. So you really want to make sure that you can keep that legitimacy up. All in all, with everything that can kind of go on with the legitimacy mechanic, it's actually pretty easy to maintain once you kind of get a ball rolling and get stuff going. So for that, we're going to put Cominos up in the S rank as well. Maybe it's just my 4% thinking about the Roman Empire, but I really do like this scenario. It's very fun. It's not super overwhelming. The legitimacy thing has been annoying. There is a little bit of a cheese you can do with the Mongols, which I do utilize. But other than that, it's still a fun mission. I reckon if you just build a load of towers, it probably won't be a big problem. So for that, I'm going to put Cominos up in the S rank just because I really, really enjoyed this one. Next mission is going to be Stephen, where we get to play as the Britons as we defend our newly obtained kingdom from those who would take it from us. Empress Matilda with her giant Teutonic army marching on our lands and trying to claim the throne for herself. A slew of rebellions in the north from the Scots and some of our earls even, and the massive Norman navy coming our way to invade our lands. All in all, if you're going for the achievement, which I do consider when I do these tiers and all that, if you are going for the achievement, it's a bit difficult, especially when you're fighting Matilda. You can't build trebuchets for the achievement, so you have to utilize your rams and even onagers and that, which I'm not a big fan of, but let's not get into that. Your rams and that have to get in there against Teuton cavalry and Teuton infantry, which are very, very tough, very hard to defeat. But if you can manage it, it's not too bad of a mission. There is this random part where you just invade Ireland randomly, and the problem with that is that if you don't have the population space, or you're kind of like, you're kind of on the back foot with your population space, having all those units over on Ireland that you can't bring back later is very annoying, and they just basically take up space that you don't really need. So for that reason, I'm going to put Stephen in the B rank. It's not that it's a bad mission, it's just there's a lot going on, and the achievement is very detrimental. Now, obviously, if you're not going for the achievement, I'd probably put it in the A rank. Trebuchets absolutely crush this mission. Trust me, I've tried it. And it's actually very fun when you do it that way. But if you are going for the achievement, I have to knock it down to B rank for it. Next mission, we're going to do Temujin, where we get to play as the Mongols. From humble beginnings, a man named Temujin will rise up and unite the Mongol clans and become a great Khan, Genghis Khan. With all great power, we must deal with internal clan strifes and even our own blood brothers. Can we stand against... I don't know why I'm doing like a tagline. We'll just skip all that bit. So the cool thing about this mission is it's essentially like a simplified version of Seljic. It's a Temujin version of Seljic. Basically, it's just like a big open map. You don't really get any villages. You can't make any villages. If you can make them from the house, it'd be a little bit better. I'm not going to lie, but that's fine. As you get horses, you can get Mangadai. There are lots of herdables, lots of resources on the map. It's not too bad. And the enemy does come up and attack you, which is a welcome addition to the mission here. As you hold feasts and go through the ages, you will eventually have to either choose between uniting all of the clans together as one unified group, or you could even just go on the offensive and just go and attack China. You don't have any siege though, so you can't utilize drill, which is a bit annoying. If you could just get them from somewhere, that would be pretty cool, I guess. But it doesn't even let you do that. All in all, it's an okay mission. As I said, it's a simplified version of Seljuk. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the B rank. Not because it's a bad mission. It's just not an A-rank mission, at least in my opinion. Next up is Mistlav, where we get to play as the new crowned king of the Rus, Mistlav, as we go and take back all of our villages and vassal areas and replace them with people that are more loyal to us and will stand with us in the coming battle. The cool thing about this mission is the build up to the final battle is awesome. Going around and getting all the towns, it's a bit annoying. Once you do that and they're like, yes, your allies will stand with you, and you see all the forces just move into one area, it is just so cool. I love it. It's just a really good feeling to see. Can't build any villages. Your eco's a little bit exposed as well. If you're not careful, you can lose villages and eventually to a point where you'll just lose everything and you won't be able to build anything, and then you'll be in real big trouble. And on top of that as well, if you help the Cumans are absolutely useless. They don't really do anything, and if you save them and you don't betray them, because we're good boys, we didn't betray them, but if you don't, you get like 3 hero units, and I think I looked it up. If you do betray them, you get like 20 population, which is way more than 3 units. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that, but that's just an idea anyway. All in all, awesome, awesome scenario. You utilize the Rus bonuses pretty effectively. I like Boyars. I like the final confrontation very much. I'm going to put that in the A rank. Nice and simple. It's just a fun scenario. I didn't replay it. I probably should actually. Now that I've said that, I actually do feel like playing it again. But I'm still going to keep it in the A rank. There's a couple of things that are a bit iffy on it. But if you can get everything all working right and get your vassals in line, you're doing well. Next up is probably one of my favorite scenarios, but it's going to be very interesting where I put it on the tier list here, is Constantine the 11th as the last bastion of the Roman Empire, Constantinople. We must defend ourselves from the massive Turkish invasion coming our way with their new weapons, their fancy little shiny cannons, trying to bombard our walls and hold the fort as best we can. I really do like this mission. It's just a big defense mission, essentially kind of like a horde mode almost. You build towers, you've got to defend it from like unyielding enemies, and then once the timer runs out, they run back. It gives you like 5 minutes to kind of rebuild, get everything going, and then continue on with your day. One thing I do not really understand, they talk about how in the walls it's farmland, but you can't build farms. I don't really understand why. That doesn't really make any sense to me. So just a weird minor gripe there, I suppose. The Navy as well, the fact that it kind of makes you go, yes, you need to defend on land, but also from sea, because they'll have cannon galleons and stuff, is actually a nice little addition. And especially since you're Byzantines, you have your fire ships, you can utilize that as well, which is pretty cool. Being post-imperial as well, I mean, you don't have to upgrade anything. You focus all of your effort into getting resources, building up your army or your navy, and then pushing back the Turks. So for that reason, I am going to put it in the A rank. It's not exactly S rank. I don't feel the same way about Otto and Cominos and that as I do about Constantine. It was probably an A plus if anything. But I'm just going to put it in the A rank for now. And now going on to the other side of the field, we're going to be talking about Fetty, where we play as the Turks, assaulting the city of Constantinople and trying to take it over from the grips of a dying empire. The cool thing about this mission is the Navy is really nice in this. Being able to get cannon galleons, elite cannon galleons right at the end, and just bombard the coastline, knock out all the buildings you need to. It's not too bad. The enemy navy is actually very annoying to deal with. Their fire ships are very tough, and their galleys are also very tough, but getting your own navy out there and basically attacking them that way can work out pretty well for you, and then you can land all your troops in, which will be really cool. The 500 pop is really nice. This is like a little gripe, but it's not really a gripe. I kind of wish they added the Age of Mythology auto queue feature for this, so that when you start assaulting the base with your land army, you can just hit auto queue and just focus on building up and where your army's going and what it's doing, instead of having to go back, build up all your troops, keep sending them forward and so forth, so on and so forth, you know? But I will say I did enjoy this a little bit more going on the offensive than I did Constantine, so that's why this one is going up into the S rank. Just because I feel like it's a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, a lot of action, and as I said, all it really needs is the Age of Mythology auto queue feature, and this mission would just be like excellent. I would absolutely love this mission. Next mission is going to be Shimatu, where we get to play as the Japanese. As the Shimatu clan, we must overthrow this weak shogun and establish our rule over the Kyushu Island against the other clans on the island here as well, with our massive land army that we can make and utilize, or even our navy to bombard from the ocean. This is a really fun mission as well, very similar to Otto with the the tributing mechanic. As you kind of take over areas, you've got to make sure that the shogun doesn't get too angry at you, so you tribute him some resources, and that's where the fishing ships come in handy. Japanese fishing ships are very, very good, so keeping the fish traps going and getting that big food income allows you to just tribute a mass amount of food to him, and he has no reason to be mad at you because you're sending in pizza and stuff like that, you know? The other thing as well is you don't even need to build an army for this, really. As you build up a navy, you can bombard from the coast, and when you knock out a castle far enough, you'll actually get control of all of their land units, which then lets you push forward into the more landlocked regions of the area and take out the castle that way, and then build up your army that way, which is pretty handy. So all in all, it is a very fun mission. I wouldn't quite say it's S rank, so I'm going to just throw it into A rank. This is definitely probably an A+ rank mission. It is really fun and really enjoyable. Sometimes it's a bit iffy because you get attacked pretty early. Once you kind of get a feel for it and you understand what's going on, it becomes a really fun mission. Next up is going to be Nouaga, which is the second and final Japanese scenario in Victors and Vanquished. Play as one of the clans of Honshu and establish yourself as the true shogun of the island. Pick your clan. They all have different abilities. You know, I think Chosakabe is like your archer one. Takeda's your cavalry one. Oda was like an infantry one. I picked the Uesugi, which was basically made your samurai very fast. It was very funny to watch them run across the map. I thought it was funny anyway. Basically, the main problem I have with this is on hard mode, you have a timer. You have a 90-minute timer from when you start. So it's very time consumed, very time limited. If you hit 90 minutes, you lose the mission. It's annoying, but it is what it is. There is a pivot to Navy if you do any of the main island nations. So I think that's the Oda, Uesugi, Takeda, and the Mori, I think they are. If you pick any of those, you do have to pivot to Navy, because even if you defeat 3 of the landlocked nations, you still have to knock out the other one to establish your rule. So it is a little annoying in that you have to build like a big land army, and then all of a sudden, all right, now I've got to pivot to Navy. So it's a bit, it's a bit annoying in that, just with the timer. So for that one, it took me a while to actually get the video out because it was so hard. I tried all of them, and I only really liked the Uesugi. I probably should try and get videos out for everything else, but I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm just going to put it in the B rank. It's not really A rank. Like, I'm comparing it to Shimatu. Shimatu was way more fun than Nouaga, so that's why I've decided to put it in B rank, even though I didn't mind it. As I said, I liked Uesugi, and that's the one I did. All the other ones I didn't really enjoy playing, so that's probably the only problem I kind of have with it. Next mission is probably my favorite thematic mission in Victors and Vanquished, and that's going to be Drake, which is essentially a big piracy scenario. You play as Drake, which is like a British sailor. He gets sent out to go and raid the Spanish gold galleons that are there from the New World, as they basically take off all their weapons to carry more gold, which just seems silly to me. Why wouldn't you just have 2 ships, Just very silly. But you raid and pillage all their areas, get some gold, and then take it back to England, rich as can be. It's a simple, straightforward, fun mission. That's just it. That's it. I really like naval missions. It's a really good piracy mission. You have the Swan, which can convert other ships, basically like a monk ship, which is pretty handy there. And yeah, that's really it. The only problem I really have, doesn't really utilize the entire map. It's a big map, and they don't really utilize all of it. If you just do like all the top area, you're pretty much at half the gold already. And then once you go onto the land, you knock out 1 fortress, and you're pretty much at cap at the gold capacity that you're at. And there's no reason to upgrade anything. You don't get any upgrades or anything. It's just go in, get the ships, and that's it. So for that, as much as I would love to put it in S rank because I love it so much, I'm just going to put it in A rank just for the simplicity of it. It's nice. It's easy. It's just like, all right, I'm going to just do this quickly, and then I'm going to go do something else. Then you play Drake. Okay, I messed up the first initial recording I did, so that's why there's 2 of them there. I couldn't get it back on the tray, so we'll just live with it, okay? Last mission is going to be Xi'an, which is the Chinese scenario. Basically, they added in for the 3 kingdoms. Has all the new Chinese civs in there as well. If you want to see them, then, you can see what they've got going there. Basically, you are the last remnant of Free China. Fu Qian and his massive army have subjugated all of China and are now marching on your position. You must defend the river and its crossing from him and his generals. It's all over. After I played it a couple times, I kind of got the, the push and the pull, the yin and the yang of it all. I was able to kind of understand what was going on. It's not too bad of a mission. Maybe I'm just not used to the Chinese, though. I really didn't feel like they had a big impact. But maybe it's just because you don't really have like the Chinese start. You know how like Chinese, you start with the extra villages, very handy to get that early eco going. You don't really have that here. You already have villages there. You already have a town center. It's all that stuff kind of done there as well. Timing is very crucial. Utilizing the rebel bases in the back to hit them while they're attacking you and knocking out the enemy town centers to make the generals retreat. Very handy there. I really think that orange is just too strong. The scorpion spam on there is absolutely crazy. I can't believe it. But if you get a nice, massive, just fully upgraded cavaliers, you should be able to charge in, knock out the enemy town centers very effectively, and then push up into all the other areas with plenty of time to spare. It's a little difficult. It's a little hard. But as I said, if you kind of play it, get the use of it, it's not too bad. I would say it's a B+, if anything. I'm going to just put it in the B rank because I don't have a B+ rank, obviously. It's a B+. It's not exactly like a B rank. I don't think the same like, you know, Charlemagne, Temujin, even Stephen, which is a little difficult. But it's certainly not A rank like I would think, you know, Constantine. It's not the same defense idea as like Constantine or anything like that. So that's why I'm going to put it in the B rank. Alrighty, and that's it for the tier list. That's it there. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know down below if you agree with anything I said. I know there are a couple of people that were like, I really like Gerick, I really liked Stephen or Carlskjold and that. This is just what I think. As I said, I really did like these scenarios at the top. I think they were just absolutely perfect to play. I loved all of it. Auto queue for Fetty, please. And I'll see you all in the next video. I think the next Age of Empires video coming out will be the Three Kingdoms DLC. I will try to do, I know I've said it like 3 times already, I will try to do the Greek Chronicle stuff while I'm also doing the Chinese DLC, so I can kind of get both of those out at the same time, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just have to focus on the Chinese DLC, and I'll do that. So until then, have an awesome one all. I'll see you all in the next one.